Ladies and gentlemen, back again, trying to work hard, trying to put some more out. I've been busy. Should have been putting out episode 4, but we have episode 5 right here. It'll come out. I promise. But yes, I have a lovely guest today on Not Your Day Job, and I would love for her to introduce herself. So what is your name and what is your not so day job?
Is that because you can't remember my name or you don't know how to pronounce it?
And look, it's something, and I can't, and I messed up the last girl's last name. She had to say it. I said Cassandra, and she was like, if you want to say it American, it's Perozzo, but if you want to put the Latin, you got to roll the R. And I said, I can't do it. Just you do it for me. Do it for me.
No problem. My name is Shereen Kassam, the funny brown girl. I go by the funny brown girl, so you can call me that. I don't think it's racist. People do, whatever.
But you did it.
Yeah, I called myself the funny brown girl.
There you go.
And I've called myself that for almost 10 years, and only in maybe the last 2 years are people like, that's racist and that's not politically correct and you shouldn't do that and makes me uncomfortable. I'm like, well, you're not the funny brown girl. I am. So it doesn't matter if you're uncomfortable.
Oh, man. You know what? That's really good. See, now I'm not going to segue from my normal thing, but I'm going to wrap back to that. I'm glad that you made that point because I do want to ask about people and sensitivity with comedy. But first, how did you get into comedy? Like, what was that inspiration that started you to be like, you know what, I could be pretty good at this. I think I should work at this. So what was that spark?
Yeah, sure. I guess I didn't tell them that, or whoever's watching, I'm a stand-up comic.
Okay. Yeah. You know what? We didn't do that. She is a great stand-up comedian.
And
yes.
I act now too.
Yes.
I'm in your web series.
Yes, the web series I film on. Shout out to Kenny Mulford, the director of the Drop web series. Also, that is premiering. Well, I can't really say tonight because this won't.
It won't air tonight.
This will not air.
But I think
this
I'm
night.
in episode 2 and 4, so check it out.
Yes, go back and check it out. But yes, we're wrapping it up. By the time this goes out, it will be wrapped up. So look this up on YouTube. But yes, back to you. So you are a stand-up comedian.
Yes. The funny brown girl.
Okay. And
How
become
did
an
I
actress
know?
too.
Yes. Well, I found people were like, you better be ready when you move to LA. And I was like, well, I mean, the comedy scene's so competitive. And I was like, I really want to be on a sitcom. So I better learn how to act so that when I'm out there, I'm going to be like the funny girl on the sitcom.
Gotcha.
Maybe.
Okay.
I don't know. I have to lose some weight is what my agent said. So she was like, either you can be fat and like be really fat and funny, or you have to be skinny, but you can't be whatever you are right now. And I was like,
really?
Okay, well, I'd rather get fat, but I better get skinny.
So it's like you either, that's kind of crazy though. So you either have to be like the really big, like, primetime, I guess, Melissa McCarthy, or you have to be somebody slim, like, I don't know, who's really big right now? Name somebody really who's slim.
Well, I guess like Ellen.
True.
Like I can't come out on a talk show like with big boobs and a pot belly being like, let's dance, y'all.
But I thought that like Oprah removed that stigma though. I thought she did. I mean, she's not
Oprah.
a comedian.
I think it's just because she's Oprah.
Yeah, but she had to work to get there. So I mean, anyway, I think that's like really crazy that they tell you, especially women. I mean, they tell men too, like, oh, you need to be this height and your hair should be this way and you need to get the 6-pack. I get it, like. Hollywood, whatever, man.
Yeah, whatever.
And whatever. But anyway, so is that a place that you're thinking about going to? Is that where it's kind of like the place that you need to be, you feel?
Yeah, at some point I definitely am going to either move to LA or maybe even Atlanta, because Atlanta's got a really big growing scene in comedy and in acting now. And
I know about acting. I didn't know about comedy.
Yeah, it's a bigger scene. It's not as big as LA or New York or Chicago, but it's like in the top 5 for sure.
Okay.
A lot of mainstream rooms, but more urban.
Yeah, for sure.
But really big focus on like people of color, which I like.
Yeah.
So
it definitely is. One of my friends, she lives there now, being an actress, because she's like, that's where the jobs are.
Yep.
And I believe that city, like the city of Atlanta, is like something like 70%, 80% black, which I was like, I am definitely not used to that. I'm a country boy, grew up around like majority 90% white high school. So I'm just like going to a 70, 80% black complete city would be like shock value to me. However, I do like that as far as like people of color getting those opportunities.
Right.
and it's actually, you know, a professional place to work. Because I think, you know, there's a stigma around, you know, working with people of color and not being professional and da 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 da. So I feel like I'm very proud of Atlanta because they do have all these major people coming down there
sure.
to work, and they're putting in a lot of professional work that is seeing the light of day. So I've heard from one of my friends who is a professional sound mixer for film that is like the new LA in a sense, new Hollywood
right,
or whatever.
for sure.
So
Yeah, because Tyler Perry has his studio in Atlanta, and so does Will Packer.
gotcha.
So
Now, do you think that like stand-up comedy is kind of your main thing?
yeah,
so
for
far?
sure. For sure. Well, I guess podcasting now too, because podcasting takes up way more time than I thought it was ever going to take.
Gotcha.
I mean, in the time I'm writing a podcast for 1 week, I probably could write my 1 hour special for Netflix.
Now, you write a podcast? Like, what do you mean? Just
Well,
kind of
I mean, like coming up with the questions.
Understood.
I do an alternate week episode or podcast. So 1 week I interview a creative of color, and then
Okay.
the second week I talk about my own experiences as a creative. So I
Okay,
pick a
that's awesome.
topic like, you know, how to deal with fear, or how to say the power of yes, or how to deal with rejection, or how to find your passion. So those take a while for me to script out.
Gotcha. And I think that's really, really awesome because I was thinking about even for this, like, should I have some self-talking segments about creativity, maybe even getting into like the business realm of it? Because a lot of creatives don't really, they just say, oh, just setting up a camera, I'm doing
Yeah,
something or
exactly.
whatever, and they don't really take it as seriously. But clearly you are. And I think that's valuable information that you're sitting here and spending the time that it's not just, I'm just throwing up a camera and things of that nature. You're writing out the questions. You're doing the hard work of getting the guest on the show. So I think that's really valuable information to have in a podcast where you talk about the different things going on, even in probably your career.
Right,
like
exactly.
you can gain experience through you.
Yeah. I think it's important. I think you should definitely do it, because I think a lot of people listen to these podcasts who are creatives, but they don't know how to get to that next level.
Gotcha.
And any advice you can share with them to help them get to that next level is that's the whole point, I think. Like for mine especially, because it's focused on people of color and a lot of us didn't grow up with the mentors and the network that we need to be successful in music or film or comedy. Like that network just doesn't exist. And so this podcast is to be like, hey guys, here's what you can do. This is what Maz says. This is what Rizwan Munji says. This is what Tina Mabry says. But here's my experience as well.
Gotcha.
And I think people love hearing about it. Like, what failures did you have, and what successes did you have, and what challenges did you overcome?
Yep. Do you feel like you have had an easy time, or like has it been super difficult getting into the industry? Not just doing, of course, I'm sure there's a level of difficulty getting in front of a crowd to tell jokes, because either you could be hot one night, have the wrong crowd one night. I'm sure there's a lot of difficulty, but just getting in the industry and networking with other comedians more prominent, have a little bit more of a buzz, and trying to learn your way through that industry. Do you feel like it's been tough for you, and do you feel like being a person of color has that hindered part of that, or has it not? Has things changed? So just wanting to know.
Yeah, no, the good question. So comedy is actually the one thing where they say right now in 2017, 18, 19, that it is the worst occupation to be a white male in, because they don't want to see any more white male comics. They're actually looking for diversity. So I wouldn't say it's been easier. I mean, I have a corporate America job, so I will say stand-up comedy is easier than that for me.
Gotcha.
But I think it's all about the hustle. Like, I came out of the gate, I created a niche for myself, called myself the funny brown girl, marketed it. My niche is I talk about being a Muslim in America. Some people think that I've taken the easy way out because I have created that niche for myself. But if you look at every great comedian, they all have something that they kind of lean on. Like Chris Rock leans on political comedy, right?
Right.
Everybody has something that's what defines them. And my whole set's not about being Muslim, but I'm the Muslim girl who's going to talk about being Muslim in America. So for me, I mean, it's been tough, but I've hustled. Like, I will apply to every competition that's out there. I will go to every competition. I will apply to every festival. I will send out my name, my headshot. I'll send out reels. Like, I'm constantly on it. And some people are like what I said, like they listen to this podcast and they're like, I want to be a comedian, but they don't know how to take that next step.
Right.
And it's
exactly.
like showing them like, this is what you have to do to get out there. You can't just be in Orlando performing at a coffee shop every day.
That is very true. And I've met been gracious enough to meet a couple of local comedians in Orlando who've been at places like the Orlando Improv
Yes.
and things of that nature. And they have said it too, is that, you know, we've also made our way out to Atlanta. We've
Yes.
also made our way out to New York. We also have made our way out to LA. And yeah, you know, it costs us some money.
Yes.
We're booking our own flights. We're
Yep.
doing our own thing. But for that chance to be able to just try to show our face.
Exactly. Be seen.
Right. And get our chance to possibly open up for somebody
Right.
who's more prominent than us and learn a lot is worth that.
Yep.
So I think that's definitely something interesting to think about, that they're kind of tired of the white comedian.
They're tired of, because they don't really have a perspective, right? I mean, you get the black comic on stage, the brown comic, the Hispanic, they all have a perspective on life, and that's what they talk about.
Gotcha.
But the white comic is just anybody, the jokes that the white person's making, and no offense to white people, anybody can make those jokes most of the time, right? There's not really any joke that a white person's making that I couldn't go up on stage and take as my own.
Gotcha. Because they've been kind of, as far as this country I will speak on, you've been the predominant culture. You know, it's been 70% white nation by population numbers, still is. And, you know, not going into the history of this country with people of color. But is that I do believe there's kind of a change. You kind of see it in many different industries. And I do understand from some people who are white who feel that, is there a point where it stops in order to let them back in? That some of those white, you know, comedians or filmmakers, actors, actresses, whatever they are like, yeah, you're hiring a lot of people of color, great, hooray. Hey, but I want a shot too. And I feel like I understand, I get what you're saying. You're saying that, you know, don't just hire someone just because, you know, they're brown.
Right.
Hire someone not only because you're trying to make your company diverse, but they can do the job. And I think that's the thing that I would tell anyone who's white who thinks like it's just a status quo. Like, we're just trying to put our quota up. We have enough black people. We have enough people, you know.
Yeah, and that's the thing about comedy. It's not like that at all. It's who's the funniest. I mean, there's some really funny white people like Ella and Gary Goldman, Louis C.K. before he started whipping out his penis. I mean, there's a lot of funny white people.
Why? Anyway,
But people want to hear different stories now. People are ready
crazy
for Black Panther and Crazy Rich Asians, and people are just ready to relate more to like the stories that they've grown up with.
Correct. They just want to see something different. And as you mentioned, you going on stage, being a stand-up comedian, and you know me, I never asked you what you know what your background is, what your race was. You know, I don't think that matters as much anymore. I think it's cool to like know, like, oh, like I have a friend who, you know, but I believe it's very inspirational to maybe other people, because I have people from different cultures who are just like my culture is very rigid on certain things, and how I grew up was very rigid. So I thought I wanted to be an actor, actress, or comedian, or this, that, and the third. But I knew that if I came home with that, my parents and my people were going to be like, are you effing kidding me?
Yep.
Like, there's no way, you know? And I feel like there probably is a young Muslim creator who's probably looking at you and seeing that you're doing it out here and you're working hard and people do find you funny and you can tell jokes and like, okay, our culture can do this. Like,
Yeah.
it's no, like a lot of Americans kind of, I guess, because what we see is only what the media gives us.
Yep.
We see this like very rigid, go by the whatever, I guess, holy text and thing and whatever. And they're just like, you can't have any fun.
Yeah.
Can't have any fun.
Yep.
And then they see you on stage and they're like, huh?
Yeah, and that's the whole point of my act. My whole point is...
And let me not be stupid.
No,
you
it's
can
fine.
continue to answer that question. I thought I turned the air conditioning off. Sorry. You're probably hearing all that shh. We're going to try to edit that out. But let her talk.
Go ahead. Turn that off.
Yeah,
I didn't even notice.
Like, I noticed immediately and I was like, what? I turned that off.
Is the fan okay?
Fan is fine. Fan doesn't really bother me as much or whatever. And I've heard other people's podcasts that are way more famous than me. And yeah, y'all are not super clean either, and y'all do a lot of crazy stuff. So I said I should be okay. But yeah, I think that inspires people. You being on stage and being, from the culture that you're coming from and you're representing when you're on that stage, I think that is so inspirational to other people. 100%. 100%. I have not been to one of your shows,
No.
but I automatically know just by meeting you and your personality, and I just judge people by their character and who they are, and I'm like, yeah, this person has it together. You can kind of just see it, when someone has it and is working towards something, and you're just like, okay, like I can see it. So
Oh, thank
for
you.
sure.
Appreciate it. You can check out a clip on funnybrowngirl.com.
Yes, go ahead, plug. I don't care. Plug in the middle. We're gonna plug.
Funnybrowngirl.com. Just check out my clip. It's, I think, 4 minutes, 5 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, we're gonna go there. Go to the website. I'm gonna link everything in the description as I always do. All her social links. We'll talk about that at the end. We plug at the end. Still having a conversation. It's all good. It's all good. Have you had any
I'm a
like
media whore, by the way. No, I'm
yeah,
just joking.
but hey,
Gotta hustle.
we all
Market.
are. You
Brand
have
yourself.
to. You kind of have to.
Brand yourself. I'm
Look at this. I didn't even notice she had that. Like
I don't like people to forget.
Yo, what? You know what? I kind of like that more. I kind of want to steal that because I feel like, having the shirt that just says like black.
I actually want to get like an orange sweatshirt and have it written on an orange sweatshirt. Just
See,
to
that's
really
even better.
confuse
Really
people.
put it in there. Yeah, I
I mean,
like
I
that.
have my own shirts too, but
Word, you have your own shirt.
yeah, you got it.
Yo, we're putting out merchandise too. All right.
And then I got my Instagram handle on the back of the shirt. This is what I mean, y'all.
Funnybrowngirl.com.
Brand yourself.
Also get the merch. Now I do have Not Your Day Job t-shirts, but they don't look as good as that. I'm going to ask you after this podcast, where do you get your t-shirts made?
Let's talk. We can talk afterwards. I'll give you a number. She's in Paramore.
What?
Yeah.
We got the plug, as the drug dealer people say. The plug. Oh my gosh. Word. This is a good podcast. I'm learning a lot, man. My podcast.
You gotta go to Paramore for the best stuff.
Oh man. Paramore. Isn't that supposed to be the hood part of town? This is side conversation. Jesus Christ. All right. Anyway, going back to it. Have you had any like outstanding I guess what was kind of like the worst experience like being a comic? Was it like a time that you bombed, or did you have an experience in the comedy industry that was like, and of course, if you don't, and I tell everyone when I ask these questions because some people open up, some people don't, because I've heard some stories that I later said, you know what, we'll redo, cut that. If it seems a little personal for you, it seems like you were iffy about it. But I always ask, because sometimes those stories are the ones that help other people. Because I've heard stories from males and females like, some bad stuff happened when I started to get up towards the industry or whatever. But sometimes it's not necessarily something so deep. But I always ask, like, was there, just a bad night where it was just like, it's the worst night, the crowd was bad, there was a big person in the room looking at me, or was there something even deeper, like I was trying to come up in the industry, I was getting this opportunity to go to this place with these people. I always say don't name no names, but like it was just like they just kind of pushed me out to the side and was just like, you're nobody. Like, did you ever have a bad experience while doing comedy?
Yes. The question is which one do you want to hear?
Well, which ones are you willing to tell? Because I believe it all helps to someone saying, man, now I can, I'll watch out for that and be like, you know what? I heard that from the Funny Brown Girl. Like, you know what? I'm not going to put myself in that same situation. When I recognize that situation, now I'm like, yep, I know it. I'm out.
Well, this was more of a situation with the audience. So there was two different experiences, and it's interesting because one experience was with white people and one experience was with black people. So it's interesting that I was able to piss off both sides of the audience. But I think the worst experience I've ever had doing comedy, and I say it's the worst because I was actually going to start crying on stage. And I cried after I cried immediately getting off stage, and I've never cried before doing comedy because comedy is my passion. It's like it's like an extension of me. Like it's my joy, it's my happiness. It's like you
Right.
can't make comedy can't make you cry. Your passion can't make you cry. And I was like bawling, like literally bawling tears. I did a show in Melbourne, Florida, and the club room only sat 40 people, but we ended up having 120 people come out. And
Right.
they'd all come out to see me because I was on the radio at the time, and so they were all like coming out to see me. And so all 120 people in the club I knew, like they were walking in. I mean, not new, but they knew me, right? So they were like taking pictures
Familiar,
with me.
yeah.
Like, so I was like on cloud nine. I was like, this can be the best damn show ever. And
Right.
I was only featuring, which means I was the second comic doing 25 minutes, and then there was a headliner. And the funny thing is the headliner had a bit of an ego, like, you know, I'm the best, blah, blah, blah. Like, that's
course.
why I'm the headliner and you're the feature. And like, there was always this tension where it was like, you shouldn't even be on the radio. You're only on the radio because we needed a female voice, and that's why you're here, right?
Wow.
So I was kind of excited because I was like, I'm going to prove to him like I'm funny, and all these people came out to see me because we were also doing a door deal, which meant that every ticket we sold, we were going to get that money. Right. So when he'd agreed to split it with me 50-50 because at the time we had only sold 20 tickets. So in his head, he was like, we'll each get like $50. Big deal. You know what I mean?
Right.
But then we had 120 and we're splitting it 50-50, right? So I get on, so it's 120 people. We're waiting to start the show. There's a table right in the front that hasn't been sat yet. And it's just right in the front, smack dab in the front. And all of a sudden these 13 white people walk in. And they're club regulars. They come every weekend. But I didn't know them, and they didn't listen to the radio show. So now I've got 13 people in the front who don't know me, who don't know why all these people are here.
Right.
So the first girl gets on stage. She's a Irish girl or some sort, white girl. And the table in the front's like, she's ugly, she's a loser, get her off stage, da-da-da. At that point, it's up to the security or the general manager to go up there and tell them to be quiet. But he didn't. Now it's my turn to go on stage. Now this crowd this table's already rude and disrespectful, right? I get on stage and like right away they start talking. And I was like, excuse me, I don't mean to be rude, but I'm on stage. Do you mind keeping your chatter to a minimum? And they're like, we can do whatever we want. We paid for our tickets to be here. And they kept talking, right? So
you pay for your tickets to see me.
Exactly. So I'm getting super frustrated on stage because I've never had anyone talk back to me. Like usually it's like, they're like, oh, I'm so sorry. And like, quiet, right? And plus all these people around them are also telling them to be quiet because they're there for me, right? And they can see that it's bothering me because literally I'm like on stage and they're like less than a foot away from me. Like I could reach out and tap them, right?
Yeah, I've seen that.
So they wouldn't stop talking. Like I must have told them 3 times to please stop talking because they kept getting louder and louder. So I had to keep being like, just bring it down.
And they're doing it now probably on purpose.
Yeah. They definitely were.
100%.
Because they knew it was getting under my skin, right?
Right.
And I mean, I'm a professional. I should know how to handle that situation, but I've never been in that situation. I've never had to tell someone 3 times to shut the hell up.
And you don't strike me as a person who's the comedian that is the heckler quieter. Like I have a comedian loose cannon who's on the TJ Chapman show. Now he's the guy that would probably, if somebody's doing that, he's like, okay, he's like, I'm gonna let y'all talk for the next like minute of my set. And then in that minute, I'm going to come up with 3 witty things that I'm just going to slay you with and have everyone laughing at you.
Yeah.
And I think that's so hard when you were just trying to do your set. And it's like, I don't even heckle people.
Well, sometimes I can heckle people to be quiet. It just depends on the situation. As a female, it's harder to heckle people because you have a fine line between being funny and being bitchy. And if you become bitchy and then the audience turns on you, then that's even worse than the one table turning on you. Does that make sense? And I have a very hard time, and I know this from my personal life. Like when I'm talking to people, my sarcasm can sometimes be taken as bitchy. So I'm like, I have to be very careful. Like I'm being funny, shut the fuck up. Versus, ha ha ha, shut the fuck up. You know what I mean?
Right. And I feel like that's crazy though. I think that's another thing too. Like besides being like obviously a person of color, but also being a woman, there's also, it's like, that's why I don't mess with women. I tell people all the time, like all my female friends, I'm like, man, I love y'all. They're like, I love you too, Joe. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. Like, it's all of y'all. I don't care if you white, black, Asian, Muslim, whatever. I'm like, look, y'all go through so much stuff, like, not only because you might color your skin, but also because where you come from, and she got resting bitch face and all this stuff, and Yeah, again, I respect to all the women out there. Love you guys. Y'all go through a lot because males may get joked on or whatever, but they're not seen that same way
No.
as they have to really go out of their way to be quote unquote bitchy.
Yeah, for sure.
Like that's crazy.
Like whatever loose cannon does on stage, if I tried to do that, wouldn't fly. The crowd would turn on me because the crowd, if you heckle and if you're too mean in your heckle, then the crowd will turn on you. So there's a fine line too. Like what are you gonna walk on? And I wasn't even in the mood to heckle that night because part of my brain had already become so emotional about the whole situation that I just didn't even know what to do in that point. I was just like, oh my God, can it be 25 minutes now so I can get off stage?
Right, exactly. Right.
Like, and I was embarrassed because now all these people are there to see me. And like, I mean, I'm all hyped up on the radio, right? Like they hype me up all the time. Shereen Kassam's doing X, Shereen Kassam's doing Y, Shereen Kassam's on HBO. And now all of a sudden I'm in Melbourne, Florida, bombing, like dying on stage. Like if you'd seen me that night, I looked like it was my first time on stage. Because I could not focus. I was like out of my zone, right?
Yeah.
So 15 minutes into my set, usually about 15 minutes into my set, I'll mention I'm Muslim. And I said, I'm Muslim. And this guy at the table gets up and goes, get rid of her, and walks out. And his entire table stood up and walked out with him because I said I was Muslim. And that point, I just like lost my shit, like literally lost my shit.
I don't even like, because I've known the podcast rules now for platforms and for YouTube posting of their guidelines on cursing, and I let my guests curse, and I don't curse that much. But
I'm so sorry.
But no, I let my guests curse. I've learned the rules. They just say as long as your first like 5-10 minutes isn't like, then you're good. But yeah, I just have to let that one fly. Fuck that dude and that whole table.
Oh, but it gets worse. But it gets worse.
That is crazy.
So I get off stage, I start crying, I'm bawling. Like some of the people from the audience like follow me out and give me a hug because like the people in the front knew what happened. The people in the back have no idea what's happened, right?
Yeah.
They're just like, oh, she's having a bad night. Go out, the headliner comes on stage. And throughout this whole thing, again, security, the general manager, or even the headliner could have come up and told that table you're being disrespectful, but neither of them chose to do that, right?
Right.
Headliner comes on stage, does his thing, show ends. The 13 people came back. After I was done, the 13 white people came back in, sat down, and watched the headliner perform. So now I'm like really pissed because like when he was performing, they were quiet. Like they didn't say a word. They were quiet. And I don't know if it made any difference that the headliner was a male, but it was a black guy. I was brown woman and the first woman was a white woman. So after the show ends, these 13 people go out and start complaining to the general manager. They're like, she was offensive and she was rude and she was vulgar and you shouldn't pay her and you shouldn't let her be here anymore and da-da-da-da-da. And they just went on, and then they came to me personally. Like they came up to me and they were like, you ruined our night. You're the worst comic we've ever seen. You're never going to work here again. And this is all happening, right? And the headliner is standing there, and the headliner doesn't say jack shit, right? And as a black male who's also gone through racism before, I would have expected him to stand up for me. Didn't do it. That's fine. But, right? But then he like started selling merchandise to these people and taking pictures with them. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, you're like allowing this behavior to go on, and it needs to stop. So the night ends.
Yeah.
Actually, the night didn't end. Then we get our money. The headliner was like, I get more because I'm a man and I did a better job than you. So then we fought for like an hour about like money situations, which is the worst thing in comedy because men always think that they should get more money than women, which is like total absurdity.
Yeah.
So he was like trying to strong arm me into getting more money, and then he stole money out of the pocket because he tried to like pretend I didn't know math, and I'm Indian, by the way, so I know math like the back of my hand. I was like, I can see that $40 is missing, but anyways. So the next day, these people went on Facebook and started posting all this stuff about me on the page for the comedy club. They were like, she was rude, she was insulting, she was gross, she was vulgar, like and I don't swear in my set. I know I've sweared a little bit here, but in my set, I don't swear at all. I don't use any curse words. My whole set is TV clean.
But even what you did here it's tame compared to a lot of Americans.
Yeah, but
I know.
I don't swear because I want to be on TV. So like my set is super clean, like squeak. Well, not super clean, but you know.
But understand, there's a little bit of a fine line in comedy, to get a joke across. Heck, even cartoons I'll look back at on YouTube where they say, hey, remember those 90s cartoons you grew up with? Let me show you some things that were in those cartoons. I was like, oh, wow. Dexter's Laboratory had a joke about like dad. It was like Dad's Trophy. And it was like the girl bent over, but was like right in the screen. And it said Dad's Trophy on her bottom.
This was a cartoon?
And it was a cartoon I watched in the 90s. But we didn't understand that as kids.
Yeah.
And it was like also something about Dexter's splooge, and it was like clearly to look like what it was they were trying to allude to. But kids are like, I don't know what that means. I'm like, holy crap. Anyway, so I understand that like you're trying to keep it clean and stuff like that. But I think just even for them, like for those cartoons, it's so for kids, like they had a little bit of edge to them for some of those jokes.
My jokes have a little bit of edge, but
but you're still trying to be encompassing to the whole crowd, right? And obviously you being a person of color, you can kind of have certain jokes that appeal to your crowd too, and kind of give you a difference, you know, from, as you said, just maybe the normal white comedians. But I really want to go back to like points that I actually had conversations with a person recently. I think it was my friend Antoinette, about working in like the film industry with people of color. And she said, you know, Joe, to be all respectful, working with people that look like us, working with our own kind sometimes, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And you feel like you would think with all this like black power and people of color to unite and all this stuff that we would get together and support each other.
Yeah, for sure. No.
And what I've also...
Just so you know, I would always have your back.
And you know what? I appreciate it. And I always have your back.
Thank you.
Because my thing is, that's how we all get better together.
Yeah, we're all fighting. That's the thing. We're all fighting the same fight. My fight as being a Muslim woman is no different than your fight being a black man. And not to undermine being a black man. I know it's a lot harder in the United States to be a black man or a black woman than it is to be a Muslim person. But at the end of the day, we're still fighting the same stigmas and the same stereotypes and the same white man power. If that makes sense, you know?
But you know what I also think is tough too, because here, and this is my thing. When I hear some, and I believe a lot of young, especially, and I'm talking about my own race because I can talk about my own, just based on my experiences. When I came up and learned, because I grew up in the South, grew up in North Carolina, and you know, my mom was a part of the first class of black people to ever integrate into the high school I went to.
Wow, that's awesome.
So when people say that like this stuff was a long time ago, I'm like, not that long ago, my mom's still alive.
Yeah. I know. It's
That's
like,
my mom.
What, 30, 40 years ago, right?
Right. Like my mom is now
and that
like
must
65,
have been
60.
so hard, right? That experience.
Right. And she said, yeah, she's like, people would spit on us in the hallway and throw things at us and whatever. And we can't do anything.
Yeah.
You can't go over there and have a fight. You can't have an old school fight how we had. If I went to go fight that girl who spit on me, I'm going to jail. They going to throw me away. There's no rules against that. There's no regular, right? So, but getting back to it is, it all spans out to now. That's why I hate when I hear people, and I'm the first person to call it my own culture when I hear this. Everyone talks about being together in unity and the crabs in the barrel mentality. As someone comes up, you bring them back down, right? And then when I see an opportunity that just because someone doesn't look exactly like you, talk exactly like you, but that's still another person of color struggling in the same industry you are, as you said, this headliner. The problem for me is that you're doing it. So now that you have done that to a person, not only were you basically, you were racist against someone of color. And I don't care. I don't deal with that. If you're black, you can't be racist. Yes, you can. The definition of racism does not exclude black people. You can be racist against white people, Muslim people, doesn't matter. You were not only racist, but you were sexist. Not only, at the end of the day, you tried to take money away from someone who earned that money. Because here's the thing, no matter, you only bombed because people want to be rude and racist. That's why you bombed. The other people were trying to hear your set.
Exactly. And I brought 120 people, And now you're trying to tell me I don't get all my money?
You packed this, and that's what I was about to say. Actually, they owe you.
Yeah.
They owe you. Okay, so that's the thing that
Want to hear what really
burns
pissed?
me.
Here's the worst part. So I got banned from the club.
Of course
The
you did,
club
because they're the
manager said-
regulars.
the club manager was like, we can't have her back here. So my radio co-host, a black man, a Hispanic man, and a white man, wanted me to personally not only call the club manager, but the 13 white people and apologize to them to let me back into the club. That was the part, that was the icing on the cake. I was like, are you serious? You want me to apologize for what, being Muslim? I'm not going to apologize for who I am. That's who I am. Like every experience I've had in my life and my story is because of who I am. And now you want me to apologize for that? And I think that was the biggest learning that I've ever had in comedy, is like, you have to stay strong to who you are. Like, so I'm not on the radio anymore. I lost the show. Well, I didn't lose it. I had to walk away because I wasn't going to apologize. And you're going to have to make those sacrifices in your life. And do I regret it sometimes? I do. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, my integrity meant so much more to me, my ethics, my values, my moral, that I'm not going to apologize for who I am.
And I think there is this, we've been talking lately with other people about cancel culture. Right. And apparently that's a term now. So now some people get canceled for good reasons. Some people get canceled.
Canceled. Okay.
So, for example, I'm sure you've heard the issues surrounding people like R. Kelly.
Yes.
Right. So now we're kind of looking back. We're like, should we really play his music or not? Man, he was really kind of dirty now that these old stories are coming out. So a lot of people are like, oh, cancel R. Kelly. Okay, people like that with a track record and a history, and they're just like, I didn't do any of these things, but it just seems to be more and more plausible each time that it seems like you probably did it. A lot of people are just like, he's canceled, don't care about him, peace, right? But then you have other situations that I think, for example, another comedian or Kevin Hart.
Yes.
Went through that issue. Could not host the Oscars, right? And, you know, people are digging up, and this day and age, they're digging up old stuff. As I tell people all the time, I heard this off of Twitter, and I was like, I took this from someone off of Twitter. They're like, Twitter keeps the receipts.
Yeah.
I said, they'll go back just like a financial advisor. They're like, oh, yeah, in 2005, you said while you were in high school, screw all those white people. Oh, okay.
I know, right?
Right. And so it's one of those things where now I tell people all the time, unfortunately, until I think society gets to a calming point, we have to, you might have to do extreme things. Like if you think you're going to be famous or somebody, then maybe go ahead and delete that Twitter.
Yeah.
And it sounds so bad, like you shouldn't have to do that. You shouldn't have to hide your growth. And I see people's growth, like James Gunn situation, fired outright by Disney, doesn't speak to our values. James Gunn hasn't done any of the things he said in those like few tweets that was there years ago. Nothing close in the past 6 years of his astounding career, making Guardians of the Galaxy and things of that nature. Someone just got mad, brought up old tweets and said, this is who this guy is. And it's like, and everyone around him's like, I haven't seen that guy for the last year. So if that was that guy, someone would have seen that type of person come out. So no one gives people a chance to grow and change. And I feel like it's a very sensitive time. So bringing that back around those recent issues, have you found it hard to joke about certain things in comedy? Have you found it hard to kind of express yourself or be who you want to be? Because you were talking about, you know, how people want you to apologize for who you are. So do you feel like it's very hard for you to talk on social media, to go to different shows and tell certain jokes because it's like, oh man, if I tell the joke this way, then my agent in Hollywood might be like, nah, well, no one's booking you now because you said one opinion. And it's like, well, I'm human.
Yeah.
And I have an opinion. And maybe I'm not particularly politically correct, but maybe I can do better. And thank you for the dogs coming out. Nice. Got you. And you're vacuuming. And I see that's why the dog is
in his mind.
Got you. But have you had a hard time telling jokes or expressing yourself as a creative?
Yes and no. That experience kind of shook me. And then 6 months later, I did another show, and that's where two people got really upset that I talked about being Muslim. He was ex-army, so I have a feeling like some PTSD must have come up inside of him.
1000%.
But he took it out on me. I mean, this guy not only threatened to kill me at the show, he then wrote to the club and said I put his wife in a chokehold, which I mean, you don't know me, but I don't have anger issues.
You don't even look like you want to put... I'm not saying you wouldn't look. If someone came and crossed you the wrong way on the street, I'm not saying you wouldn't defend yourself. I am saying you just don't seem like the natural person that's like...
No, I don't.
It's not even going to get to that point.
At a comedy show and be like, I'm going to put you in a chokehold. Like,
yeah, or even get mad enough to the point where, like, I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to go to jail for you. Like,
no.
what are you talking about?
So, yeah, he threatened to kill me. Then he wrote to the club, like, this is my place of work, and told them I put his wife in a chokehold. He went on Facebook and he wrote this whole, like, shitty post about me. And then all these women actually started commenting, like, she looks like a bitch. She's ugly. She's fat. She doesn't look like she'd be funny. And I was shocked how many women attacked me. And I was like, I don't know y'all. Why y'all being mean to me?
I don't even think it's a women thing. It's an American thing. So I think there is after, especially 9/11, I think we went through a period of being extremely scared. And there's still remnants of those people. It's no longer that. And I understand, I respect, all the people who fight for our country. I grew up around Fayetteville, North Carolina, Fort Bragg base. Most people have to go through there and do training and stuff like that. I had a lot of people, friends of mine, who are Marines and Rangers and stuff. I understand. But all those people overseas who are shooting at our friends, our family, our daughters, our sons, all that. Those people are very different from the people who are just trying to do the same things and live like an American citizen. Just because, like, I can't denounce and say, like, I can't get on stage and be like, what if it was flipped and it wasn't Muslim and it was black and it was like terrorists coming out of Africa or something like that in an African country, in Nigeria, Ghana, or whatever, just flipping it, right? What I'm going to do, get out here and be like, I'm a filmmaker, but I'm not black. I'm like, I'm like white or something. No, I am black. There's nothing. I'm dark. I can't change it. So I would just be like, how can you? I think there are people who are scared. Mm-hmm. We've seen so much, and I think people need to get back to what comedy is. Comedy brought people together. Mm-hmm. Our differences, the jokes, even the racist type of jokes that were said back in the days with Robin Williams and many other people around him, like Paul Mooney and all that. Like, there's old video of that you can look up. They joked on each other in many different ways about each other's race and things of that nature, but it brought everyone in the room together. It wasn't in a malicious way. And understand it, the lady on stage is not trying to plot to bomb you, or what are you?
And that's the part that's the whole idea of my skit, like, is to break down those barriers. Like, I'm not a terrorist. My parents are from Africa. I'm not even from the Middle East. I'm from Kenya, for God's sakes. Like, I'm not from Saudi Arabia or Iran, where these terrorists came from when they bombed 9/11, right? Mm-hmm. But a lot of these audience members are not even willing to listen. They're just like, right away, scared, they're like, man. Oh my God, she is Muslim. She's gonna try to bomb us.
They're scared.
I'm on stage. Where is my bomb? Where is it?
Yo, like, they are extremely scared. And now after, especially in Orlando, I could understand that, after those Pulse, people after Pulse and hearing about, did his wife know? Mm-hmm. Well, maybe she planned it with him. Mm-hmm. And now we're looking at Muslim women. Oh, they're women, so they must be innocent. And I said, look, here's the thing. It doesn't matter if that person is white, black, Muslim. Does not matter who they are. There's so many domestic terrorists, and I don't care. I'm putting out the facts. Go look up the race of most people who caused the recent mass shootings over the past 10 years.
Oh yeah.
Let's get right, America. It has nothing to do with race. If someone is a crazy person, they're just gonna do it. and they're not going to tell you a joke before they do it. That's not what okay. So when people out here doing the same things you're doing, trying to be a comedian, a filmmaker, trying to be, heck, the person that works at your local grocery store, and you can see that they come working and maybe they do wear, I don't know what is the how you say it? Hijab?
Yeah.
Is that how you say it? Okay. And it's like, if you see someone wearing a hijab, then don't treat them, they're just American.
Yep, exactly.
Respect them. You're gonna, whatever you wear is a part of whatever your culture wears, and this, that, and the third. Like, it does not matter. The character matters. I'm just very passionate about that. I go on rants about that. It's just like, I hate that happened to you. In this country, it's 2019.
I know.
It's just let it be done. Just love people, love and support people. So moving forward from that, I see that, you have had many tough times. It sounds very scary. So
it has gotten scary.
So I feel like, do you still have that confidence to get on stage and still tell the joke? Has it made you switch your jokes and switch your material? Or are you saying, you know what? I'm going to still stay to me and who I am. I'm not going to let those people intimidate me. So how has that affected your comedy and your routines?
Yeah, I mean, I've just been more selective where I perform. So like that club, the club where they threatened to kill me, the one in Melbourne banned me, so I don't go there. I don't do any clubs in Melbourne, Lakeland, Ocala, any red states, like red cities, I won't perform in. The club that the guy said I put his wife in a chokehold, they just don't book me anymore because whether they believe I put her in a chokehold or not, I don't know. So I've just become more selective of where I perform, which is kind of sucks because it's like I don't get to work every day if I want to work every day.
Right.
But at the end of the day,
it's like pre-check.
I feel safer that way. At least I'm not putting myself in harm's way.
Gotcha.
I'm also more cognizant now of my audience and like where I am. So if I can feel like I'm stepping into hot water, and you can usually tell, like I've had audiences totally with me. Like I was in Deltona a couple weeks ago, and I could see the front table, and they were all white, and they were totally with me the whole way. They're like ha ha ha, and like I at one point had to tell them, I'm like, so sorry, can you stop laughing because I gotta continue. Like you're throwing off my rhythm. And then all of a sudden I said I was Muslim, and this one table just crossed their arms and sat back, and I knew I crossed the line, so I took it back. I went away from the Muslim jokes, and I went right back into sex jokes and drinking jokes. It's not what I like to do. I don't like to talk about sex.
At that point, they already went and lost you. Yeah. So now they're trying to laugh at the sex and drinking jokes, but they're like,
yeah, but at least they didn't totally dismiss me and walk out at that point, right?
Gotcha.
So I was still able to like salvage the show in the sense that it didn't become a distraction. But I hate that because that wasn't what I wanted to do. That wasn't the message that I was trying to get across. But I had to pull it back, and I had to be like, okay, let's talk about sex,
Right.
So.
And I feel like there's some other cultures who've caught the break, I guess. I feel like white and black, that's out. Look, we've been on that for many years, but then I think of recent time there was like an explosion of Latin American culture that was able to say, okay, let's joke about us, like we're the people that mow your grass and fix your house and think, let's make jokes about that and joke about ourselves. And that was really big for a time. And I always felt like at some point in time we gotta let people who are Muslim come up and joke about things, like, and not take it so seriously, because it's over. We've progressed, and I just hate that you have to switch your material. You can't like express yourself. But I will say, going back to expressing yourself and getting out there, and you may have to be choosy, but I believe the internet kind of helps people, all people who are creatives, express themselves and not be judged too much. I mean, people are going to judge you online. You
got to turn off those YouTube comments.
Correct. But ignore them. I told one guy that I'm friends with on Facebook, he was like, I'm putting out films and stuff, and I had guys just like, oh, you suck, and that. And I just told him, I said, doesn't matter. I said, if they spent time enough to come to your YouTube channel to leave that comment, you're doing something right.
Really? You think so?
Yeah, because here's the thing. I'm sitting here, I'll come home, I'm tired. I'm like, what I'm gonna do if I want to cook, if I want, Americans lazy. why would I spend the time when I could go comment on something that I love or go watch a new Netflix movie I haven't seen yet or something? But I spent, even though I know it may sound like a small amount of time, but I spent 2 minutes enough just to watch something that you did and be like, oh, yeah, you are effing da, da, da. And like just the thought that someone had to pause their life for a minute to tell me, Joe, you freaking suck. Your podcast is boring. I hate it. I hate that lady that came on the podcast. She's Muslim. All F you too. And I'm like, you know what? Because you took the time to pause your life. If you really didn't like me or the podcast, turn it off, leave. Wouldn't that be quicker?
Yeah.
To go to something else?
That's an interesting perspective. I need to clip this out and have it playing nonstop because I used to do YouTube sketches and the number of people, actually it was only when I posted on Facebook. So meaning on Facebook, these are like people who friend requested me. Most of these people have friend requested me because they're from the radio. I don't really know who they are. Actually would write stuff on my sketches. This one blows. Your acting sucks. Stop making these. I don't like watching these. I'm like, and then it was funny because other people would comment back, then why are you watching?
And you know what? Every single time one of those hecklers and people come, that's a view for you. And as you get more views and you get more up there, then people reach out to you. Advertisers want to advertise. You get money. It's like a vicious cycle.
Yeah, that's true.
But it freaking works. The YouTubers that I follow for many years, like over 8 years, it's like those YouTubers have been at it for so long and not every video has been the greatest. I've seen some where they're like, this one sucks. Oh, why did you give that phone review that, oh, you're getting paid by Apple to say that and blah, 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 blah. Don't matter. Because as you keep coming back and you keep posting it, my view count keeps going up. Oh, it went from 100,000 views to 200,000 to 300,000. Oh, I got advertisers. I'm getting paid $3,000 a month to talk about what I love to do, and to hear you have a bad comment on it, which just bumped my views up, which just got me more advertising dollars. Thanks. Keep coming back and saying that I suck. It does not matter. Like. So I think you should just keep doing it. I don't care about those people. Just keep doing it. That's what I've told myself.
Yeah, no, it's good advice. I mean, I didn't even think about it. If you think about it from that perspective, like they took time out of their schedule to tell you how much you suck.
And you know time is precious.
Yeah, well, it's funny because you say that because like there's been a couple threads on Facebook just about me, and it's like funny that people take the time out. And now I'm looking back on it, and I'm like, at the moment you're just like, what the hell? Now when you look back on it, you're like, huh, they took time out of their life to start a thread about me and talk about me. Interesting.
Right. Exactly. And I think that's what people need to do too as well. Because I think to be a comedian, from what I've heard, I mean, you got to have kind of thick skin.
Yeah.
And I feel like you wouldn't be in this industry if you didn't. But obviously we're also still human. And obviously we still, sometimes see comments and we're like,
Yeah, well, the hard part with thick skin is like you do develop a thick skin. You definitely do. But when people close to you are the ones who are instigating it, and when I say close to you, I mean, I know Facebook, you're not really friends, right? But if someone took the effort to friend request you to be your friend on Facebook, and then they're the ones talking crap about you on Facebook on your page, then you're just like, then why did you friend request me in the first place?
Right.
Like if you had nothing nice to say about me, why do you want to be friends with me? You know what I mean?
But I also see it. A guy that I follow, Gary Vaynerchuk.
He's awesome, Gary V.
Gary V. Yeah, Gary V. And he talks about it all the time, right? That's one of his main go-tos on multiple, daily V's or his little podcasts that he puts out every day. He talks a lot of times where he's just like, the number one thing I hear young people and old people, is that everyone is so, they stop everything they do based upon what someone else says all the time.
Yeah.
You could be super great at what you do, but someone stops you, or someone said you suck. You just started. You think you should be rich by now or something of that nature. And then someone says you suck and you're only, again, like me, 5 episodes into a podcast, or like you said, you're like 20 some episodes into your podcast, and then someone's you suck, and then you're just like, okay, and then you stop.
Yeah. Because of one person. Yeah.
Don't He's like, what? He's like, I don't care if people think I suck. Gary's like, I don't care.
Well, Gary's also got money.
Yeah, here's the thing though, and that's what Gary also goes back to. He's like, he said, I know that as a male, and obviously looking as kind of like a white male. I mean, he's from, his parents immigrate from Russia.
Yeah.
He's just like, I know I have a disproportionate advantage over some people, and like I know that I come from a certain place of privilege, but however, my parents did not. He said, like, we were immigrants. We didn't have anything in this country. We didn't have anybody to back us up in the country. We had to grow. And he's like, and so, of course, being an immigrant, and as he tells the story, he's like, our parents make us work in the family business. And I had this hustle mentality because it's like, I have no one here. Like, I have to make this happen.
Right.
So I do feel like he has to keep going back there because he's like, I think he feels like, this is my opinion, I think he feels like people forget, I came from here, right? No, really from here. Like, this ain't like Kim K saying, no, I came from the... No, we know you didn't. But that person is saying, yes. Yeah, I really actually did check, my background. And so when he says like, yeah, to get here... I mean, of course, someone probably said, "Oh, this little Muslim." But I mean, this Russian kid, like, "Oh, really? You're gonna be this one day?" And it's like, "Yeah, I am." Okay, kid, keep saying that. Yeah. Okay, I will. And he kept doing it, and now he is. And so I feel like for anyone else, that's how you get there. There is no shortage of the ability to succeed, and that's what I feel that people in general have a problem with, but especially people of color, I believe, because we haven't seen representation in many different fields. But I do feel that we are very represented in comedy, but I don't feel we have enough women in comedy in general. And I don't think we have enough women of color in comedy in general. But I see that you and many other people who are women of color are starting to get more chances. I saw that Tiffany Haddish getting her chance with Netflix to do an animated series, and I think she's also gonna have a deal to do a special. And so I look at that and I'm just like, these are people that probably people said, oh, you're just gonna be another black girl, what, you gonna be another Monique, or is that what you're trying to be? And Tiffany's probably like, no, I'm gonna be Tiffany Haddish. And boom, she got that break, you know what I'm saying? And she kept working at it. So
yeah, she has a great story. I mean, she lived in a car. She was homeless.
I didn't even know that.
She was adopted. I think she was an orphan. She was adopted. And then, she lived in her car. Kevin Hart even offered her a place to stay. And she was like, what do I have to give you in exchange?
Yeah, because you think about that. Somebody that high up in industry, you're like.
And she lived in her car. And now look where she is.
Right.
I mean,
and now you see that they have a very good relationship, it seems, between Tiffany and Kevin. And that is a perfect example of people bringing
up. And Kevin Hart's really good at that. Kevin Hart, because he's got Heart of the City, the TV show, or his little Comedy Central special that he does. He just started Laugh Out Loud, which is his own network.
I know his network. I follow on YouTube.
He showcases people of color. Like, he is bringing up people of color. He doesn't care if you're black, Hispanic, or I was going to say white. He doesn't care what color you are in the sense, but he's bringing people up through Heart of the City and through Laugh Out Loud. Yeah. And that's just amazing for someone in that position to do that. Issa Rae from Insecure. She's doing the same thing. She's helping content creators and film producers and stuff come up.
Yeah, actually, one of the guys that I know personally I went to high school with, he's a professional cinematographer right now. He's I saw he's working on the new show Boomerang on BET. Okay. And he shot a film with Terry Crews. I don't know when that's coming out, but I saw the behind the scenes he showed on Facebook. But I saw that he had a film he shot a long time ago with lesser cameras. It was just small film, and Issa Rae Productions picked it up and said, hey, we want to feature that on our YouTube channel. And I told him about it. He said, I didn't even know they did pick it up. He's like, because it wasn't my film, I was just the cinematographer. But I just thought that was beautiful, because it's just like, man, it's someone that I know who's been working very hard and got picked up by somebody at that level. So
no, Issa is cool.
That's
like
crazy.
She's doing amazing stuff. American Black Film Festival, like I participated in that 2 years ago with HBO. They really helped
Is
my
HBO
career.
behind that?
Yeah, they're one of the sponsors for American Black Film
I
Festival.
might talk to you after the podcast about that too, because I'm trying to do my first
Yeah,
short film.
I'll tell you about it.
After,
if you can get into American Black Film Festival as a content creator, whether it's a
Yeah.
comedian or a film, or I think that's all they do, comedy and film. But
Okay.
it is one of the best opportunities ever because they let you rub shoulders with these people and talk to these people and ask questions, and like these people become your mentors. I mean, the people on my podcast, most of them came from American Black Film Festival.
Okay.
So definitely something I mean, I love any of these organizations that are helping people like us keep advancing, because that's what we need. We need that network. We need that mentorship.
Gotcha. Now, what, leading off towards the end here, what are kind of the goals that you have set for yourself going into the future? Not just 2019, but just like in general. Like, what is that? Like, man, when I reach the pinnacle, this is kind of what I want to be known for. This is what I want to do, my legacy in a sense.
I want to inspire people. I want people, like you said, I want people to look at me and say, okay, she's doing it. I can do it too. So even if I don't get my Netflix special, which I would love, or get my TV pilot picked up, or make it big in the acting scene. I mean, the fact that I'm able to produce content and maybe inspire some other like young little brown girl or black girl or Hispanic girl, like to go and try something, I think that's really what my goal is.
Gotcha. And do you have any, I guess, because we've talked a lot of experiences that I feel like, man, are just kind of gut wrenching to me, because it's just like to picture that situation for you, but I'm sure you've had really good, and I didn't ask this before, but what is your, I guess, best experience like going through this career? Have you met someone that you like looked up to? Was there just like the moment that's just like that kind of gave you ease to be like, hey, this was a very awesome moment in my career and my path as being a comedian? Like, was there a moment that was just like the aha moment?
Yeah, for sure. American Black Film Festival.
Okay, that
so
one.
I showcased for HBO. They had this whole theater bought out. There must have been 5,000 people there. Bob Sumner
Whoa.
from Def Comedy Jam was in charge of putting it together. So I actually got to meet Bob and hang out with Bob, which was like a dream come true, because he made a lot of this possible for us, right? He opened those doors. He opened those floodgates to showcase people of color at the Apollo. I mean, mostly black people.
Yeah.
But it's fine. He still opened the doors for us, and getting to hang out with him, being featured on HBO. Like I said, American Black Film Festival, if you go in there as a content creator, they treat you like royalty. I mean, every day we were wining and dining with executives from HBO.
Nice.
We were meeting actors and actresses and film producers. We were getting advice from people like Will Packer. I mean, it was just such an awesome opportunity to be elevated, for people to recognize you, even though that they were like really high up, like Will Packer's so high up, he's still recognizing that you're trying to get somewhere, right? And they've put on this showcase for you to showcase your talents. So that was probably, I mean, after I did that, I was like, maybe I should retire.
Oh man, I feel like, well, don't retire just yet. You got too much left in you.
It was such a great opportunity. I was like, when am I ever going to experience this again?
You will. 100%.
I hope so, because it was so cool. It was awesome.
I feel like things do happen for a reason. How cliche that sounds all the time, but I feel like there are those moments that just like you can't make it up. You're just like, hey, this just happened to me, or I just met this person, or I just got this opportunity. And I feel like as you keep putting yourself around those circles and you keep being the positive person that you are, then you will get more and more opportunities to be around those people and those opportunities. So any leading off advice for anybody else trying to be a comedian as well? Anything that, someone's like, you're like, you know what, this one thing that I learned, I would love to tell others, like, hey, from my experience, this.
Hustle. Nobody's gonna call you or Facebook message you or tweet you to be on their showcase. If you want to be on a showcase, you gotta hustle. I mean, don't annoy them. Don't be like, put me on your showcase, but reach out, ask them, how do you get on their showcase? What are the steps to take? I mean, it's all about hustle. It's putting yourself out there. Any creative should do that. And then keep working on your craft. Like, keep writing, keep performing, keep getting on stage, keep talking to people, keep networking. brand yourself, market yourself. It all right. And like you said earlier, it's all about social media today. Have
Right.
a presence on social media, showcase your stuff. You don't necessarily have to put your jokes on social media, but you've got to engage in social media.
Right.
It's something I'm trying to do a lot better this year, is like really focusing on social media, because there's been 2 clubs now that I've tried to work for and I didn't have enough followers for them to hire me.
Really? We're ranking on followers?
Yeah, we're
I
ranking
keep
on
hearing
followers.
That. That's
So,
crazy.
I mean, hustle. It's like, but
Gotcha.
it's hustle all the way around. You can't just focus, I'm going to write the funniest jokes. That's how it used to be, but I think now the hustle is, I'm going to write the funniest jokes, but I'm also going to take acting classes and improv classes, and like I'm just going to spread my wings, because I'm going to be a multifaceted comedian that's ready for anything that comes my way.
That's awesome. That is amazing. And as we were kind of doing earlier, and of course I wanted to lead back to, is please tell the people out there, where can we follow you and get more comedy, and brighten up our days and support our fellow comedian of color here. So where can we follow you?
So you can find my podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Stitcher, anywhere you find podcasts. It's called Creative Breakthrough, Jumpstart Your Creative Journey. And I interview successful creatives of color to get real life strategies and inspiration on how to win in your
Awesome.
creativeness. You can find that. If you can't find that on the sites, you can go to funnybrown.girl.com and there'll be a link to it there at funnybrown.girl.com. And then you can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook at funnybrown.girl.
Right, so I've got social media locked down.
I've got
she
Funny Brown
got
Girl
the tag
locked down.
Yo, no one can take that.
I got Funny Brown Girl everything.
That's crazy. Anyway, lovely to have you on.
Thank you.
I'm gonna
This is
ask
great.
about those plugs that we were talking about earlier, and the African American, is it African American or Black Film Festival?
American Black Film Festival.
American Black Film Festival.
ABFF.
I'm gonna definitely ask about that. But thank you for coming by, spending time out of your lovely day.
No, this was great. Thank you for having me.
So anyway, thank you again.
And if you have any questions, message me. I'm totally open.
There we go.
Reach out.
Yes, reach out.
You can reach out
so
too.
we can help each other. I'm definitely reaching. I'm reaching out to her now, like right after this. But anyway, thank you for listening. Thank you for coming again. That's been an episode of Not Your Day Job. Good night.